Hey guys, welcome to Hellstormwargaming and welcome to this very special video. Today we're going to be talking about Psychic Awakening 5, The Greater Good, which is all about Tau, Imperial Guard and Genestealer cults. If this should be out on pre-order day, so you can actually pre-order this now. So thank you very much to Games Workshop for sending this nice and early. And thank you very much to this special guest. We have the one and only, the man of the hour, Richard Siegler. Hello.
Hey Mikey, thanks for having me.
No worries, thank you very much for coming on. Also joined by Tank, my very special co-host. Hi Tank.
Hi everyone.
And we're going to be doing a little bit of review of this, but obviously I know who Richard Siegler is. I've said this line already because I've filmed with Nick already. Speaking of which, if you want to check out Genestealer Cults, there's another video. But I know who you are, Richard. A lot of people might know who you are because of recent events. But who are you? And tell the folks at home why you should be talking about Tau. Why are you qualified?
Sure. So the most obvious one is that I finished #1 overall in the Tau faction rankings for the ITC in the last season. I also finished #1 overall in the entire ITC, having won LVO, Nova Open, Warzone Atlanta, and the Pro Tabletop tournament. So
just a few medals to show
last
off.
year. Yeah, just a couple.
Just a couple.
But I won almost everything except for LVO with Tau.
Okay.
So I've been playing Tau for almost the entire last ITC season.
Basically, was it the possessed bomb that scared you with the -4 and just sitting on the board and Tau sitting in a corner being, I don't know what to do?
Yeah, that matchup is tough because they have the untargetable strat plus all the stacking minuses on non-fly keyword units. Eldar got a lot more powerful with their super efficient shooting.
Yeah.
So those matchups plus Marines overall, I was able to come up with a Iron Hands list that I don't think Tau can actually beat until it's nerfed. So that just convinced me to play Iron Hands instead of Tau, which is just better Tau, honestly.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, congratulations on your recent win. Obviously, very impressive
Cheers.
to win the ITC, best in faction in a faction you love, and also LVO as well. So congratulations on that. So with this, we are going to be talking about the new stuff that's come from Tau. Is this going to make you lean back towards Tau? Is it kind of like revitalized your love for them?
I mean, there's some cool stuff in here, but I think overall we're still waiting for that Marine nerf.
Yeah.
There's too many things that are just absolutely far too powerful in the game, and they're really reducing significantly the viability of a lot of armies and a lot of units.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to wait for that spring FAQ to really, completely shake up the meta.
Sure. That makes sense. So, otherwise, though, what cool things can we talk about, Tal? What are your first impressions? If we take Marines out of the meta for now, what like really stands out in this book currently?
So a couple of the Sept tenants, the new custom Septs, are quite good. Honestly, the list that I had pioneered last year, the triple Riptide, triple Commander, 40 to 50 plus drones, and then some supporting elements, whether those are the marker-like characters or pathfinders or marker drones. That list just gets even better with this.
Yeah.
And then in addition, it introduces at least 2 new viable lists, in my opinion. One is going to be based around Borkon and the Yavara, and then the second one will be based around Farsight Enclaves, which get their own special rules in here, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So, as I said, as we've mentioned, we kind of mentioned some stuff that comes in here. So, for Tau, there's quite a lot compared to the other factions, with it being called the Greater Good. We have a new data sheet for Commander Shadow Sun. The main change is that she can be included in any sept rather than just Tau. What did they call it? What was the sept she was only allowed to be in? Was it
Tau Sept?
Yeah,
she
it was
is
just Tau
Sept
Sept.
commander.
I was saying it. I was like, that's not right. They're all Tau, but yeah, it's just so that was the sept that she could be in. But now she can be in any, but she doesn't benefit from any except Tau Sept now. Which is cool. You also get Sept Tenants, which is build your own, take 2 chapter tactic or sept in this regard. They got quite a few. A lot of them look quite interesting for different builds. They also gained prototype weapon system, which is essentially kind of like Relics or kind of closer to the Tyrannid mutations upgrades that they got. So you choose a unit and they get either a cool weapon or a cool ability. They also got stratagems. They got 2 pages of stratagems. And they also got updated the 8 rules, which were seen in Chapter Approved a while ago. Also, along with them, they got Farsight Enclaves, which have their own stratagems. And then Farsight Enclaves also have Warlord traits and relics and tactical objectives. So there's quite a lot to get through for the Tau compared to the other 2 factions in this book. But we'll kind of go through it a couple of pages at a time. So What interesting steps would you say you'd be looking at, Richard? Like what
So
combos?
I'm just going to start with Shadow Sun first.
Okay.
There was a lot of chat with her. She's got most of the previews for the Tau preview week, but unfortunately, she's actually significantly worse than before, in my opinion.
Okay.
The first reason is because one of her main benefits before this new update was the drones that she could take.
Yeah.
She could take up to 3 drones, one of which was the command link drone to give one of your battlesuit units reroll 1s to hit, and she still has that one. The difference is she can't take 2 of the special shield drones that are -1 to hit, 3 up invuln, 5 up feel no pain. And the reason that's important is because they essentially protected the command link drone. Nobody really wants to shoot at drones that are -1 to hit with 3 up invulns and 5 up feel no pains. So basically it lasts until the very end. And it was also in the ITC format easy to get King of the Hill points with that unit, just surviving for so long.
Sure.
So now she loses those special shield drones to protect the drones with actual abilities. And she gets a much worse drone, which gives a 6-up feel no pain to friendly Tau Empire units. But the Ethereal is already doing that with a much larger aura, and he can't be killed easily.
And this is only 3 inches into it, so and 1 wound itself.
It's just straight up worse. And secondly, they did not update Cao Yun to be reroll any hit rolls. Instead, it's still the old version, so it's still just very poor against all these minuses to hit that are in the meta. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of play from Shadow Sun. It's cool that she can be in any sept, but they really needed those updates to make her a choice to be taken. The changing of her weapon systems really doesn't change much, honestly. And then the other thing is that double Cao Yun really is unnecessary in most of your games.
Yeah.
Either you're going to have the 5 marker lights and it's giving you a marginal advantage, or the best case scenario is that there's a lot of different units like Space Marines, MSU style, where you can get efficiency by just having Cao Yun. But by and large, you're always going to be doing at least 1 Monka, and you're going to continue moving after that. And so Cao Yun can sometimes stop you from actually winning the mission, in my experience.
Yeah. That was fair. I was going to say, I was just looking while she was explaining that she hasn't actually received a points change either.
So she's same exact cost.
Yeah, which is a shame if she's got a little bit worse, especially the drones as well.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. I really had high hopes that they'd change Cao Yun for like Chapter Master rerolls.
Yeah, just rerolled hits rather than failed hits. So obviously the minuses still affect the rerolls, which is a bit of a shame. We saw that
if they had made that simple change, it would have been playable for sure.
Yeah, we saw the same thing with Blood Angels as well, because they got all new character data sheets, but Dante, the Chapter Master, still has rerolled failed hits, whereas every other Space Marine Chapter Master is reroll hits, so it's just anything you like. So
Caldor Drago too for the Great Knights. They didn't update him either.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very disappointing because it's just so simple to do.
Yeah. I reckon it's more of like an oversight rather than anything else.
I actually thought in the last FAQ they were going to go through every single reroll failed hits and change it to all across all books, but there you go.
Hey, I'll do it in like a couple hours for free. No cards.
There we go.
I'll translate into French and Chinese. I'll do it.
Oh, fantastic. There you go. So that was Shadow Sun. A few changes, nothing too exciting, nothing to jump about. So back to Sept Tenants. Backwards to Sept Tenants. So there's quite a few. Some of them are limiting to particular keywords, but some of them do also look quite interesting, such as me and Tank were talking about hardened warheads. When you resolve an attack with higher missile pod, seeker missiles, or smart missile systems, you increase the AP by 1, which it looks pretty good. But was there any that really stood out to you? What sort of combos would you be looking at?
So the main combo that I'm seeing here is using stabilization systems. So you ignore the heavy penalty on battlesuits, and then hardened warheads as well. Yeah. So that means all your Riptides, they don't need target lock. You can feel free to take Velocity Tracker, which is my preferred one, Velocity Tracker and ATS. And then your SMS systems will become AP -2 with ATS, ignore cover, which is really quite powerful. So I think that's the main combo if you play that standard triple commander, triple Riptide list. Yeah. But there's a couple other interesting ones. Gifted pilots. If in your movement phase a vehicle or monster model with this tenant doesn't move or moves less than half its characteristic, until the end of the turn, it gets to reroll wound rolls of 1. Nice. Somewhat interesting if you want to play a more static version of the battlesuit list. I think you could probably squeeze that in there. Unfortunately, Upgun had a lot of potential. The burst cannon models with this tend to gain an extra -1 if they made it like the missile one where it covers all the different burst weapons.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just covers basic burst cannons, so not even the high yield burst cannon or the twin burst cannon of the hazard suits.
Yeah.
That would have been very, very interesting and made those tasty, but unfortunately it's just regular burst cannons, which are just a poor weapon for 8 points. It's kind of silly they didn't go down.
Yeah, it doesn't even increase it, it just becomes -1 because it's so limited to one weapon, which is a bit of a shame.
So you could get crisis suits loaded with burst cannons, you could get to -2 but with ATS.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to be putting burst cannons on anything.
Yeah, because they're so expensive. They're basically expensive storm bolters.
Exactly, yeah. 8-point storm bolters, but they're strength 5, like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. So is anything that stood out to you, Tank, or Rich, any other ones you saw? Or?
No, it's pretty much what Richard said. Obviously, when I read it, because I love mech Tau, I accept it's not the competitive option in the world we live in, but the hardened warheads and the stabilization systems is awesome on the mech list too.
Yeah.
Oh, not stabilization, sorry, hardened warheads and gifted pilots.
Yeah, the half move reroll wounds of 1.
Yeah, vehicles got some nice ones in here, like the when you're resolving the attacks with a vehicle model that has 1 or more marker lights, you get to reroll wound rolls of 1. That's pretty nice for seeker missile spam.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing about this is you are giving up one of the good seps, particularly Tau Sept.
Yeah.
So now you're not having long strike with your mech Tau, which is a huge miss. Or for the suit version, you're missing out on the +1 to wound stratagem and Overwatch on 5s.
Yeah.
So there's a really significant trade-off, and none of these are like that good where you're like, okay, wow, this is super powerful. There's nothing like +1 to wound or -1 damage or anything crazy in here. They're all like, they're cool buffs, but nothing really super game-changing.
Yeah.
Richard, when you were saying that there was stuff in here that potentially made your trademark list better, was that things from this list, or was that other things?
If you want to make my list better, honestly, I would take stabilization systems and hardened warheads for the Riptides.
Is it worth giving up the hit on 5's Overwatch for that?
Depends on it's going to be a meta choice.
Okay.
So if there's a bunch of, if it's a melee edition, or if there's a melee meta, I think it'll be worth it. But by and large, most people aren't charging your Tau Castle, and you can position your seal drones in such a way that you're able to screen your Riptides effectively, where Overwatch doesn't come in. The other thing is there's so much ignore Overwatch now, whether it's psychic powers, relics, abilities, that it's kind of gotten a little silly. And so 5 of Overwatch has really lost its luster as the edition has gone on. So I could see this very easily slotting in.
Especially with heavier terrain as well, because you just charge through a wall these days if you don't want to get overwatched. Even if you don't have the ability, just charge through a wall, you're fine. So, but yeah, so some interesting ones. But I said that the standout ones are the 2 we mentioned. So again, moving on, we do have prototype weapon systems. Again, these upgrade a particular unit. There's a really spicy one I like, but I don't know if it is a good meta choice, and it is the amplified ion accelerator for the Riptide. Where it changes it from D6 shots and D3 damage to heavy 6, strength 8, -4, and 3 damage, or overcharge it for heavy 6, strength 9, -4, and 3 plus D3 damage if you really want to kill something. But would you say that's something interesting, or is the burst cannon still the number 1 on a pedestal, best weapon ever for the Tau, for the Riptide in particular?
I mean, the burst cannon is just significantly better because it's volume of fire that you need in this edition, and the burst cannon is good against vehicles and against infantry as well, so it's more of an all-purpose thing. It's not bad, the ion accelerator with this, but it's also not like that spectacular. Its problem wasn't its damage, it was the volume of fire. So if they made it like heavy 8, heavy 10, that would have made it tempting.
Oh yeah, they'd be like all over that.
So then you'd start thinking about doing 2 of the heavy burst Riptides in one of those, but it's still not really like that great, unfortunately. It's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, especially if you're running marker drones and you want one of your Riptides to have the drone controller. You can go ahead and use the ion version. Yeah,
because that range is insane as well, too, at 72-inch.
Yeah.
Is there any that did stand out to you? Obviously, I look, but you're better.
So there's a couple that are interesting in here. The one that they previewed, the advanced EM Scrambler for the Ghost Keel, where units can set up within 12 of it. That's a really nice tool. And when we talk about Farsight Enclaves, I've got some ideas for Ghost Keels. Okay. But I think that's that's not bad, especially if GSC come back in the meta in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really helpful to mess with their deployments. And there's a lot of redeploy recently, especially with Grey Knights 2 becoming prominent with Gate of Infinity.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pure reserve army, basically. So I think there's some play there if you are taking a Ghost Keel.
Yeah.
The big one is cross-link stabilizer jets. Commander and a crisis unit or a crisis bodyguard unit. When you get to shoot with your ranged weapons, you reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1.
Nice.
This is going to be the automatic choice.
Mm-hmm.
Tau have particularly terrible Warlord traits.
Yeah.
And this will be the instant one that you slot in. So I would take this one and then use the stratagem that we're going to talk about later to take a second Warlord trait and just take these on 2 of your commanders. That's just excellent.
Yeah, that's really good. Any that stood out to you, Tank, before we move on?
No, I think we just covered them there. I mean, they're all decent, none are terrible. I mean, even having like assault marker lights on your Pathfinders isn't terrible. But...
Yeah,
which
is
it's just unfortunate they
lights.
immediately get picked up. Like a Thunderfire exists.
Yeah,
I think reading the rules, you can only probably take 1 of these in your army unless I'm missing something. So
you replace a Warlord trait with it. So when you use the stratagem to take a second Warlord trait, just like with Tyranids, you can then get a second one.
Interesting.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So at least you can take 2. I looked at the battlesuit one here because obviously Farsight have some good buffs for battlesuits in particular with the veteran cadre. You can also take reactive countermeasures. So if they have the airbursting fragmentation projector, they treat all AP -1 and -2 as 0, which I thought was decent to keep that particular unit alive longer.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
unfortunately, it's only per model instead of the unit.
So
it's slightly less effective.
I've just realised that. If it was unit, that'd be like, okay, that's cool. If it's model, that's a little bit more limited.
And also AP -3 is the new AP -1 these days.
Yeah, we're AP -4.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so prototype weapon systems, some good ones, some bad ones once again. But the thing is, again, with Tau, there's just so much to go through. So we do have stratagems as well. So tell me something good about the stratagems, Richard. It's not all doom and gloom for a Tau player. It's actually really good.
So once again, it's a lot of utility choices.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite ones is the aerial targeting one for 1 CP. You basically count as having 1 more marker light than you have.
Yeah.
So any of those times, it's happened to me where you get 4 marker lights, all of a sudden, bam, 1 CP, I'm going to count as 5.
Yeah.
And it lasts until the end of the phase. So not only 1 unit benefits, but your whole army could potentially benefit. It's also useful if, say, you're not taking any marker lights in your list, or you lost your marker lights. Mm-hmm. You can just go ahead and use it, and now you reroll 1s against that unit.
Yeah.
So a lot of utility there. There's another one which basically makes your ethereal Enva, where you can invocate 2 of the elemental powers. So if you wanted to get reroll 1s to hit and the 6-up Feel No Pain at the same time, 1 CP, you can do it.
Yeah.
That's one's kind of nice.
Wisdom of the Many, that one, for those at home.
The best stratagem on here, the one that's like instantly powerful, is modulated weaponry. For 1 CP, set models with the type characteristic, a random typed characteristic for heavy weapons, they count as having max shots. So immediately you think of the Yavara. And so for 1 CP, it has 18 flamer shots and 9 of the shotgun shots, which...
Ouch.
So good.
That makes it actually something you can play. The downside is you have to be Borkon because you need the extra range, and you also have to spend at least 400 points on a single model.
Yeah.
So there are limitations to it, but if you want to run the Yavara, this stratagem is making it 100% valuable to run 1.
Yeah.
And the Tiger Shark too, I was quite excited about.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's only 16 wounds, and there's too much high AP multi-damage weapons in the meta.
Yeah.
But maybe another time the Tiger Shark can come back. But they nerfed its railguns too. Not the railguns, the heavy burst cannons.
Yeah, I was saying to Mikey, it's not if you go second, it basically doesn't exist anymore. But it's a good if you wanted to play one just for fun, and obviously because the Swift Strike's got nerfed, people take the ion cannons instead.
Mm-hmm.
And with that strat, you'll be getting 12 ion cannon shots and 12 of the missile shots as well.
Yeah.
So it gets pretty nuts, but you have to go first.
It does have an insane movement though, doesn't it? So you could tie that in with Gift of Pilots to move like 35 inches or something.
Yeah, it's got 75-inch move, so you could move 37 and still reroll ones to wound 2, which would be good.
Which is a little bit cheeky for such a ridiculous model. But yeah,
but back to sensible things.
Back to the good stuff that's in there, not just the fun stuff.
If you're running Breachers, Pulse Onslaught's kind of nice because it makes the close range and the medium profiles able to be shot at 15 inches. Mm-hmm. So you can have that Strength 6 -2 version at 15 inches. Not bad. I've been running Breachers, and I like them in the Marine meta.
Yeah.
Over Fire Warriors. Mm-hmm. So another 1 CP strat. Most of this is all 1 CP. There's the 2 CP strat for the Crisis Suits to count when they're shooting. They count as having 5 marker lights on their target.
Yeah, it's
nice. There's some buffs for Crisis Suits here. In addition to the points cost, they got reduced and chapter proof. So, they're not terrible anymore.
Yeah,
they're very expensive for what they do, and they don't have the same durability as a Riptide or even a Ghost Keel. And then obviously the big winner here is Promising Pupil. 1 CP, you get to pick a second Warlord trait. And you're going to use that in combination with the prototype weapons to get your commanders two of the systems. Yeah,
exactly. So, is there anything else that you wanted to point out, either Richard or Tank?
There's a bunch of Kroot stratagems, but nothing's going to help Kroot except for a boatload of attacks and making them cheaper.
Yeah, there's also a strategy
more
for
expensive
best
than Guardsmen.
There's one for best bid.
Yeah, there's one for best bid, but they don't need help rerolling to hit.
No.
They really need help rerolling to wound.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but there you go.
Durability.
Yeah, I've seen 2 people in my life run Kroot, and I've been playing this game 12 years. So, there you go. Ambushing predators, they can heroically intervene Kroot 6 inches, which is just hilarious.
Before they all get murdered.
So they can die sooner.
Yeah. Charge into their deaths. But there you go. I thought that was quite funny. Like I said, there's one for Kroot Shaper. You can, I think it's when you make an advance roll or charge roll for a friendly Kroot unit within 6, you can roll an additional d6, which is cool. So there you go. Really get into combat and die faster.
My favorite one is the Raging Beasts for the Krootoxes, where you increase their attacks to 4, and then they get extra AP on their Krootox fists. Like, amazing. When are you getting your Krootoxes in combat? Like, what world do the GW designers live in when people are running this?
At that one time, someone's going to get a Krootox rider into combat with you, and they're going to be like, "It is time. I'm the first one in existence to use this stratagem."
If you want to see Krootoxes in action, I played a game against Brian Pullen, the number 2 Tau player in the last season of the ITC, during Charity Hammer. And it's on YouTube if you want to see it. I played pure Farsight Enclaves, and he played pure Daliath.
Yeah, that's on the Can Hammer channel, is it? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, Charity Hammer.
Yeah, and Brian Pullen has his own channel as well. Is it Tank or Tabletop
Titans?
There you go. I knew it was something like that. He's a really nice dude, and he does really high quality videos as well, which is nice. So they're the stratagems. I said so. Kroot are the big winners from the stratagems, as well as Crisis Suits, etc. So then we have an updated the 8, which is obviously one of the most expensive units in the game.
Is it honestly updated, or did they simply reprint it? Because
I think it's mostly reprinted.
I haven't run the 8, but I didn't really notice any changes. Now it's just 1,000,000 rules, but you still pay the CP to unlock them. There's still 1,120 points.
Yeah.
They still have the crappy weapons that they have to come with.
Yeah, but you can deep strike all of it though. I mean, that's something.
Even though it's over 1,000 points.
Not in match play.
Oh.
I was reading the special rules and I was like, okay, you can deep strike everything, including the Riptide, and then obviously I didn't think about the fact that it's 1,120 points in total. But they've all got cool names. Speaking of which, we forgot the most important thing, Richard. There is a Tau Empire name generator. We got any dice handy?
A die?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a die. Let me grab one.
Yeah, we need 2 numbers, and that'll be your name for the rest of the video.
Let me see. All right, here's the first one, a 3.
Okay. A 3.
And then the second one is a 4.
3, 4. You are Uso. That's your name.
Uso.
Yeah, you'll have to decide a cast, rank, and sept later, I suppose. But Uso.
Well, I'm a Shazo for sure.
There you
Firecast commander.
There you go. So a Firecast Uso. There you go. So the 8 look like they pretty much got reprinted. It's still a ridiculous unit. If anyone uses one, then let me know. I'll be very interested to see how you get on with it. But what we did get is an updated rules for Farsight Enclaves, which I don't think have had any decent rules in 7th edition. What they did gain was abilities, stratagems, Warlord traits, relics, and tactical objectives. So what interests you, Richard, in these in particular?
So the very first thing, there is a new updated match play rule for commanders in Farsight Enclaves detachments. So for those Farsight detachments, you can have no more than 2 commanders per detachment, which opens up the potential for 6 commanders.
Yep.
And obviously, you're immediately thinking of 3 Cold Stars and 3 of the Cyclic Ion Enforcer commanders. That is very, very tasty. That is going to open up a whole new list that is more based around jank and abusing the character rule.
Yeah.
So this is where I think Ghost Kills come into play. They are going to be your durable midfield kind of screen, hiding out of line of sight while the commanders do the work around the edges.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that trait can come in, the EMP shield, to prevent things from coming within 12 inches.
Sure.
Just to prevent things from ever coming into the middle of the field. In addition to that, Farsight units from the Tau Empire Codex get another ability. On top of reroll wound rolls within 6 inches.
Yeah.
They get to any enemy units within 12 that they're shooting ranged weapons against. They count as having 1 more Markolite than's actually there.
Okay,
which
that's very interesting.
Pretty cool.
That means they're at least rerolling 1s for free, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And then you've obviously got the stratagem to count as put 1 on another unit, and then obviously you're going to be taking Markolites anyway, so you just got them everywhere. Well, it's quite interesting that they've allowed 2 commanders per detachment, because right at the start of 8th edition, like, people were running, just before even rule of 3, people were just spamming commanders. Everyone was running commanders, and that's when they brought 1 per detachment. Sorry, but bringing it up to 2, I mean, it's still not, obviously you can't take 3 in each detachment because of rule of 3, but still 6 commanders is a very scary thought.
I guess you could. Take like 3 enforcers and 3 crisis commanders too if you wanted all the cyclic ions.
You could do that. I think the utility of just having some cold stars is super invaluable, because the list will need some mobility to try and like pick around the edges of the battlefield. But it's definitely interesting. You're obviously giving up on most of the good rules from the other seps because you have to play Farsight.
Yeah,
but I think there's some utility there.
Yeah, exactly. And I said we also gain 6 stratagems. These stratagems are unlocked if you have a Farsight Enclave detachment. It doesn't always state Farsight Enclaves on the stratagem, but it does have a little note at the top that says when it's referring to a unit, they can only be used on Farsight Enclave units. Farsight Enclave units, sorry. So, any stratagems that stood out to you? We've got Veteran Cadre, which is obviously, I think, probably the most obvious one.
Yeah, if you're into crisis suits, pre-game you can make one of your crisis suit units for either 1 or 2 CP, depending on the unit size, have +1 weapon skill and +1 ballistic skill. So in combination with having 5 Markolites or using that stratagem, and using the Farsight drop clear stratagem, you could potentially have a crisis unit that's hitting on 1s.
Wow.
Basically 2s rerolling 1s easily.
Yeah.
So not bad. That'll help against things like -3 possessed. You can just dump a full crisis unit into them. They're still very pricey, but I think in a Farsight list, it's tempting enough that you should start taking crisis suits.
Wow.
Yeah, really nasty. Really, really nasty. Any others? Any others?
Also, 2 CP, they can get a 5-up Feel No Pain.
Okay.
That's fantastic. It's expensive, but it's good.
Yeah, I wish they got transhuman, but 5-up Feel No Pain's good enough.
Yeah.
Because they have drones as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
if you can't pass off, you can. Yeah, if you can't pass off, then you have the 5-up instead, which is not bad. Also, for their character model, can get reroll to wound for 1 CP. So that kind of replaces, or it can be used in addition to command node. So 2 of your commanders could be rerolling all wound rolls.
Wow.
Once again, you have 2 Cyclic Ion commanders. That's not bad for 2 CP.
It's really good. So I said that. So there's a couple of stratagems of Farsight. There are 6 to go through, but they do get relics and warlord traits. So they got 3 relics, 3 warlord traits. Some of them look okay. Some of them look a bit lackluster, but there's always a standout. There's always a standout one that's either stands out because it's amazing or stands out because like why is that there? But there you go.
Yeah, so they get both of those.
Yeah.
The standout amazing one is the Talisman of Artis Malak, which is the Deny relic, and the model gets a 5-up invuln.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much going to be the auto take free relic for Farsight, and then you probably buy the Pure Tide engram chip.
Yeah.
But there's also an interesting relic that when resolving an attack by this model against a unit with an 18, you reroll the hit roll. So you get full rerolls for models with an 18. Could be useful on any of your commanders, particularly a Cyclic Ion commander. Yeah. Because then he could have full rerolls to hit and to wound.
Yeah.
Against something like the Possessed.
For 1 CP.
You know, not bad.
And a relic. Yeah, so that's called the Mirror Codex.
Yeah, the Mirror Codex, which is pretty cool.
So the seismic fibrillator node, Richard. Tell me something amazing about it.
I mean, why even waste any ink on this? It's just bad. So once per battle. Okay, they had to make it once per battle. At the start of your opponent's turn, you can choose to activate the relic, and if you do, till the end of that turn, when a model starts or ends a move within 6 inches of a model with this relic, on a D6, on a 1, that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Awesome. Like three different qualifications, and you're paying a relic slot for it.
Yeah, and you got to roll a 1.
And it's once per battle, like, come on.
It's just like, if it was like, if you move within 6, you take a mortal wound, I'd be like, okay, that's interesting. It's the fact that you still have to roll, and you have to roll a 1. It's not like a 2+.
I was just reading it over and over and trying to figure out what the best possible case scenario would be.
You've lost, I think.
My favorite one is still from the main codex, the 12-inch aura of -1 leadership. Super
amazing.
Powerful.
Yeah. Awesome. For all those times it's for when you're charging in some crew for all those combat when they heroically intervene 6. You've got a commander still behind them to make the -1 leadership. So obviously some good relics. One interesting one. Warlord traits. Some of these they didn't really stand out to me, but I might just be missing it. So what did you think?
So once again, you can give a trait where attacks made by a character, by your Warlord, can reroll the hit roll.
Oh yeah,
not bad.
Master of the Killing Blow. So
there's a whole bunch of ways to get full rerolls. It's just they didn't update Cal Yun to do it, which is like, okay, come on. There's a way to increase Bonding Knife to pass on a 4-up, to auto pass morale on a 4-up.
Yeah.
And that affects all units within 12. Like, if you're running Fire Warrior spam and there's a whole bunch of stratagems to buff Fire Warriors and Breacher teams, that's a pretty tasty Warlord trait. And then you have the ability, one of the Warlord traits increases the range of Monka to 12 inches.
Yeah.
As the aura.
Which is okay.
It's okay, but probably not needed based on the list you're going to run with Farsight, because it's going to be very deep strike oriented with commanders.
Yeah.
So you're really not going to be using Monka too often.
No, exactly. I suppose you could always, if you needed to, if you're running an interesting list, you could always buy that as well with the extra Warlord stratagem, sorry. So at least you have that in your back pocket, especially at the table. So I think that is about it, unless we go through the tactical objectives. But obviously, do you play much Maelstrom, Richard, or is it mainly ITC you play?
I mostly play ITC, but this weekend with Nick, I am traveling to the Canhammer Team Tournament. Okay. And we are playing ETC missions, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then this year, I'm also on Team USA. Oh yeah. So I'll have to practice my ETC missions. Yeah.
So getting unique tactical objectives is great in these books. I really like it because it means you can play more to the style of your army. The issue is they don't come with cards, so you'd have to refer to the book instead of just drawing a card as normal, which is a bit of a shame. But so you got 6. So if you are a Farsight Enclaves player, obviously you can run some jank, and then you have 6 tactical objectives to play with.
Don't the ETC ban the faction-specific ones?
I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some silly ones in some of the books, isn't there?
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, I think for because I played an ETC style tournament just before LVO, and there's an Imperial Fist one where you choose 3 objectives, and at the end of the turn after the one you've selected the objectives, if you hold all 3, you get 5 points or something, ridiculous compared to like Supremacy, where you hold 3 objectives and get 2.
I think the Thousand Suns one's the best, isn't it?
Yeah, cast 6 powers, you get 12 points or something daft.
Yeah, 6, I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, final closing thoughts, Richard, for the new Taub update. I think we've gone through everything now.
You know, a lot of interesting stuff. I think there's a lot of play to Farsight, honestly, and I'm going to be testing it out a lot. I think there's some play to the Borkhan Yavara list based on that single stratagem, and then I think there's still some play to that custom seps if you want to run the list that I had been running last year.
Yeah.
I think it just makes the list a little more mobile, and that helps a lot.
Mikey, have we got time just to do like a quick minute or two on the Borkhan list, because we didn't speak much about that? Is that kind of like similar structure to your existing list, but just sort of swapping one of the Riptides out for a Yavara?
No, actually, I think because of the way that the Borkhan set works, where it adds 6-inch range to those rapid fire and heavy weapons, I actually think you want 3 Riptides and a Yavara in addition. Have 4 Riptide bodies, and then I would go without the battalion, and then have 2 commanders in there, plus as many drones as you can fit. You can fit like 44 drones in there.
Wow.
But it's going to be very light on marker lights.
Sounds a lot of fun.
So it's very aggressive, in your face. You're going to buff both of those commanders with that prototype weapon system. Yeah. And then you're going to just use the stratagem to buff the Yavara as long as it lives, and just trade efficiently as possible. But once again, it's an aggressive board control list that also can go second and still do a lot of damage because of all the extra range.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That sounds a cool list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be limited to like 5 CP, though. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's not too bad, though, because you'll take the Puretide chip and you'll get at least a couple back.
True.
It's not really CP intensive.
True.
But I played a similar list at Crucible last year and was actually able to beat unnerfed Iron Hands with it.
Wow.
So with this stratagem, it actually gets a lot more powerful.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so I think that's everything. Tank, any final thoughts?
No, I've got nothing to add, unsurprisingly, with the Tau expert on hand.
Well, there you go. So, guys, that was the review of Tau Empire in Psychic Awakening: The Greater Good. Thanks again to Games Workshop sending this early so we could do a review. Thanks again to Richard for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. It was really kind of
thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much. If the guys at home want to find you, where can they find you if they want to find more information, content, videos, anything like that?
Sure. So along with Nick Nanavati and Mark Perry, I am part of the Art of War team. So I will be doing live streaming with those guys on a weekly basis starting in a couple weeks.
Nice.
And then I will also very soon be doing list design and coaching as well. So if you're interested in learning more and playing Tau at the highest level, or playing some other factions like Grey Knights, Adeptus Mechanicus, Custodes, I will be there. Reach out to the Art of War website, and then reach out on Reddit, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook.
Yes.
And we'll be sure to get you in contact with us.
Yeah, make sure you go to AOW1, AOW40K1 on Twitter, because I got that wrong the other day. Well, there you go, guys. So thank you very much for watching. All the links for Richard and Nick's Art of War team and coaching services will be in the description below. I said if you want to see a breakdown of Genestealer cults with Nick Nanavati, we also had another video that'll be linked in the description as well. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Tank.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
And we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, fellas.